let's get it going. Trying to get Twitter to work. I can't see it. Well, seems to be working. So we'll mostly do Q&A on YouTube. So it's easier. Definitely easier. We're going to get rid of Twitter because having phone in front of me is painful. So I'm just going to do these things. Alright. Bing, bada, boom. Let's get these tools here. Our work area set up. This is my method for this. Paper plates, paper towel in between the plates, and that way you have a nice clean work surface every time. I do 10 plates in a stack, so I can do 10 cultures in a session, or I just grab another stack of plates. And paper towel helps kind of dry explants off a little bit. They don't like to be too wet. There's definitely a sweet spot with moisture levels. You don't want to look too crazy, but you know how it goes. Let's grab some Chem Kong. That is what we're doing today. Where are you, Chem Kong? Here's Chem Kong. Right. Look for these slightly earlier than I'm doing now, but hey. Boom. Chem Kong. Looking good in TC. We're all rooted out, which I don't love. I don't really like to root in vitro, but I don't know. A lot of people have trouble getting plants to root in vitro. That's the last thing I have trouble with. I can't get them to stop rooting in vitro, even though they don't have any rooting hormone added. None. But you know, you can put plants in a cup of water, right, and they'll root out just fine. So, show you multiplication. And basically, these are going to be this new mom stock, essentially. This is all EAV2. Let me see if I have any more of this media. I might not. That's all right. We'll do some of these in type 2, and we'll see how they do. Pretty sure they do just fine in type 2. We have a lot of different media blends, so, and I'm always playing around with different ones. Oh, I gotta get this tripod out of the way. TC Lab / film studio, not great, kind of a pain. But let's get after it. So when I'm doing propagation like this, essentially we're taking clones. I mean, not essentially, we're taking clones. So we're literally just cloning these plants, and then we're going to let the moms kind of regenerate. And then we'll take clones again from these containers, so we can kind of go in multiple times and pull plants out. And then I don't like to have too many big leaves, just because they're unnecessary. Also, they kind of crowd the containers a little bit. Just like that. Okay, and then we'll grab our new container. Give it a quick spray with alcohol. And we'll take our explants and plug them in. So this is also the same size I would root these plants at. So if I wanted to, I would stick these in plugs, rock wool, peat, kind of whatever, and those will root just fine. Last thing to do is throw a little label on there. Boom. Chem Kong. Bam. Paper towel plate combo. Boom. Compost. Throw away, whatever. The paper towel. Bam. Fresh plate, fresh sheet. Yeah. Questions? Feel free to chime in. Kind of open session on TC the Chem Kong drop, which is we changed from today to next week, next Friday. We had a lot. We're in the middle of harvesting seeds right now, so did not able to do seed drop and harvest, and I probably shouldn't have done the live in the lab, but that's okay. Let's see. I do want to see if I have some plants that are rooting. Yeah, here we go. So it said that size of plant would just go straight into rock wool, and that'll root out, and then that can just go right up into the greenhouse. That plant, in only a couple weeks, will end up looking like that. It's a TC Strawberry Snacks plant, Gen 0. So you can tell they look very normal. And then they get real beastie once they get roots and get out in the greenhouse. Yeah, clones. We have King Kong Clones. This is one of our SoCal clone distributors. If you're commercial, we also work with Hayes Valley up in Bay Area, and they have a bunch of our flavors. So those would be the places to get cuts. For now. All right, well, let's this one up. Right, so the other interesting thing with, let's see, what's the best way to do this? The other interesting thing about TC plants is, depending on how many plants you put in a container, you usually have a few, say you put 5 or 6 in here, you'll have 1 or 2 that just seem to really take over. Like, for example, that was 2 plants. You can see this third one is just a little baby plant that got dwarfed underneath the bigger ones. It's interesting. Mouth-watering gas, yeah, you're looking at it. Mouth staining, awful, and DMT, mothball, chemical funk. That's what we're doing right now. So this is Chem Kong, drops next Friday. Most of the phenos are very heavy on the chem side. Not a pretty plant. So if you want something that's like really purple and has all the bag appeal in the world, probably not for you. But if you want penetrating chemi gas terps, then this will fit the bill. No questions asked. Available seeds. What kind of terps do you want? Oh, sorry, same dude. Yeah, Chem Kong comes out Friday. Also, if you want crazy chemi or like gas terps, Bathhouse is one of the really popular ones that we've been doing. Those are almost sold out, so I would scoop those. Let's see, other real gassy ones. Anything from the Swish line. Swish is definitely on the gas side, so you'll find some gassy phenos. Yeah, well, there we go. But the Swish stuff is almost entirely gone. We just did the last release of the Swish stuff, which was the pink perfume. And that's it. So any of the Swish stuff definitely got good gassy phenos. Particularly Bathhouse. If you could find Gym Crush is really good. Xantasia is another one. That's a Pure Kush, Hollywood PK cross. We've got a few others, kind of gassy ones coming down the line. Probably releasing the Hollywood Pure Kush cross to Zoda here in a little bit. That's also super on the gas side. So if you're a gas fiend. And then we have a bunch of Zeclair crosses coming out. And we used kind of I have 2 phenos of the Zeclair that I kept. A candy pheno and a candy gas pheno, which really is more gas candy pheno. And then a lot of those are really solid. And I use the gas pheno for that. So any of those you would also be in good shape with. All right. Ice cream. This has been in here for way too long. So this is October, right before Halloween. All right. So for this one, let's throw this in a little Type 3. Let's see how it does. Future Cannabis Project. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just send me an email, let me know, details and stuff like that. But always down to come chop it up. Man, been in here way too long. You can see they just get weird. We got a little hyperhydrosity going on, which kind of see if I can pull up some and show you. No, I don't make containers pre-made. Everything's from scratch. Email info@umamiseedcompany.com or umamiseeds@gmail. Yeah, I mean, making media is super simple. Like, I've got a YouTube video. If you scroll back, like 2 or 3 videos of how to make your own media, and like I said, it's really easy. You won't have any issues doing it. I mean, if you don't have like a flow hood or a sterile environment, it really, that's the most important thing. Like, you could buy sterile media from me or someone else, but then the second you expose, the sterile environment to a non-sterile environment, then kind of having it be sterile is moot at that point because it's going to be contaminated. So you can look into a still air box. That's kind of a really simple way to go, or build a flow hood. There's a ton of videos online. It's super easy. Probably take you a weekend to do, and shouldn't cost you more than like a few $100. And then you can do this all yourself. You can make your own media. Instead, just watch some of my videos. You'll get like an easy download on how to do it, and then you'll be off to the races. So yeah, I mean, you can see just how fast this process gets you to ramp up plants, because that was basically one cutting now is turned into 15 plus explants. So then 2 weeks from now, your 15 each turn into 15 more, and then 15 and 15 and 15 and 15 and 15, and the ramp period really gets after it. Yeah, so storage, backup. We root some out. We basically keep the entire library of cultivars in vitro. So every plant that's grown in our greenhouse, every plant that you get. So if you buy seeds from Umami, every single one of those seeds is grown inside of a plant that came from this table, came from this lab. So we lab test for pathogens and all that good stuff, and then once they're sort of safely locked up in these vessels, then we know it's impossible for them to get contaminated. Well, I shouldn't say impossible, but next to impossible, because I would have to physically contaminate them, and I clean all my tools regularly with chlorine and the whole nine. So, like I said, we got pretty. Yeah, so trying to keep this directly under the camera is like right over the work surface, and that obviously is not something you're supposed to do. So I apologize for having it like slightly off camera, but there's just not a ton I can do about that. Yeah, embryo rescue. That's a tricky one. That is a tricky one. Some embryos just are like dead. you know, and you can rescue them and like get them out of their shell, like the seed coating, but that is not a guarantee that they will survive. So split the seed, remove the embryo, get it into in gel, and hope for the best. You know, obviously it can't be contaminated because the seeds are super, super delicate. But yeah, it's tricky. Pezos is really, 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 really good. It's everything that I liked about Gary Payton, but it's way more gassy. It's got a lot more flavor. It's got all the bag appeal of Gary Payton. It's probably one of the frostiest plants, like visually, that I've ever seen. But Gary Payton, in my opinion, was just like, and I grew it, I don't know, 15 plus times. I tried a bunch of different, you know, HID, LED, like different nutrients and different biostems, and the flavor was kind of lacking. So I don't know, maybe I never had it dialed in. I tried it from a bunch of other people too, and I was just like, it had a lot going for it, but flavor was not one of those things. And me personally, flavor is obviously a very big deal. So I was like, how can we increase the flavor? Cross it with something like Zonuts, which is just soaked in terps, and you know, got what I was looking for. Let's see. Yeah, I have not ever done or extracted meristem from an embryo, so I would not be able to help you out there. But let me know how that goes, because that sounds tricky. To get it to work, yeah, keep me in the loop. Still a chunk on there. Yeah, no, flavor is the you know, it's the spice of life. Like, if it doesn't taste amazing, then like what's the point? At least in my opinion. You know, I'm sure there's many who disagree, but that's fine. Some people prefer potency over flavor, and again, that's cool. Not my cup of tea. You know, and you've been smoking as long as I have, certain varieties just are not very potent because, you know, you've got such a tolerance built up. So there's plenty of things I can do if I really need to get super medicated. You know, hot dabs of THCA always seems to do it. Baby teeth, but so when you're saying embryo rescue, you're talking about directly from the seed, right? Or you're like popping a seed and then pulling out the meristem. I'm a little lost. Just to be honest, I don't actually know where the meristem would be located in a seed embryo, because there's not really like discernible parts, right? It just looks like it's all that embryo. Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were talking about embryo rescue from a seed. Yeah, well, we do have, I actually have a bunch of meristem cultures that I can show. Which ones are the better than these two? So here is some meristems. So I use the petri dishes for meristems because they're so little. But these start off, less than a millimeter by a millimeter, and they're completely colorless. They're transparent. You cannot see them with the naked eye. We use a microscope, and I actually use syringe needles because a syringe needle is kind of like a spoon, like a sharp, kind of like the sharp spoon looking vibe, and you can like cut out the meristem. Well, shouldn't say easy, but relatively easy. Yeah, I don't really use PGRs with meristems. Sometimes the coconut water or coconut milk is kind of my favorite go-to for that. I do use several different potassium sources, yeah, or silica sources, I should say. I haven't seen that help hyperhydrosity as much. In my opinion, that is mostly caused by just moisture level and like not proper airflow. So I use these vented. These are just deli cups, and we cut holes and use these vented lids. And then on the racks, I have a fan that blows air across the rack, so that causes gas exchange. Yeah, well, actually, so here, speaking of hyperhydrosity, like even though this is vented, you can see we've got some hyperhydrosity going on, especially down in here. Which, I mean, you get this crazy shape, but you can see there's a few. I get this in focus. Why is this being dumb? We'll just do it down here. There's a few explants that are sort of growing out of it, and then we can just pull those. Yeah, I've read a number of those papers, and silica. I mean, I would say it definitely helps, but it's not. That's not the primary. The flip top tubes, like the pop tops, like these little pop, like old school 8 containers, pop tops, because these are deli cups. Yeah, but all of these are made from the same. It's not plastic; it's resin. It's probably polypropylene. If I'm pronouncing that right. PP. So you can, if I could get it to focus. Come on, whatever. There, right there's a little stamp that says PP number 5, PP5. Yep, yeah, you got it. And that you can autoclave. Any of the other ones will typically melt in the autoclave, but there's a lot of things that say, not autoclavable, and that isn't necessarily true. There's a lot of stuff you can autoclave. Depends on how many times you can autoclave it, or for how long and at what pressure. But I've been pleasantly surprised a number of times. Like, oh, you definitely can't autoclave that. Like, well, I did, and it's fine. So you just got to figure out like what works and what doesn't. But yeah, so there's a real obvious hyperhydrosity case right here. So you just get this real translucent leaf that's super brittle, Man, I wish. Why is this not focusing better? There we go. Yeah, so those are no good. But I mean, I'll typically get little nodes or branches that will, like I said, to grow out of that kind of crazy hyperhydrosity growth pattern, and then are potentially viable. You know, like this one doesn't look spectacular, but we'll see. You know, here's one that looks pretty good. Like you see, you don't even have to cut these because they just sort of break apart. Oh, this is 2. You know, 2 for 1. So yeah, I mean, we've been receiving a ton of emails for the tester program, so I would double check the email. It's Proton, it's Umami testers at proton.me, not .com. That could be something. Possibly your photos are too high def and Proton is kind of tripping. You might have to do a zip file. Do a Google Drive and send us the link. Yeah, I mean, I have that issue all the time. It's annoying with every app being like, oh, you can only upload this much or that much, and you probably you're like, I just took a picture with my camera. Like, how come I can't share it? It's dumb. But yeah, just check the file size or do a zip. These days, I just do a zip file for like 90% of stuff because it's saves space and it's quicker for the receiving end and all that stuff. But zip files are a little annoying having to do it all the time. So I feel you. But yeah, give that a shot and send it in. Or like worst case, send us a message on Discord. Like send the photos in Discord. We'll figure that out. Yeah, mint mango and cherry lime. Some classics right there. Yeah, we actually got some cherry lime soda crosses coming. Well, I dusted cherry lime with I won't say what because you never know if those projects are actually gonna see the light of day. I hope they do, but we're real particular on what actually gets released. So if I talk about something and then it can't get dropped because it's got low germ rate or high herb rate or something like that, then people get bummed. So I try to not say too much about what we have, because I'm making those seeds. Well, we're harvesting those seeds, like I was saying earlier, harvesting those now, and the soonest those will be released is like summer 2026. Yeah, it takes about 18 months from start to finish. So right now we're making seeds for 2026 and 2027. We have all the seeds for 2025 done in the fridge, ready to get drip fed over the year, and then we've got maybe the first quarter of 2026. Those seeds are done as well, and then like I said, we're gonna start making the seeds for 27 and 28 right now. So if anyone's wondering how we have seed drops all the time, that's how. They were made well in advance. These are not being made and then sold the next day. It takes a long time. All right, let's see if we can rescue some contaminated stuff, eh? So you can see, got some fungal growth going on in here. Ugh. Gross. All right, let's see what we can do. These do not look very good. They do not have very high expectations. All right, I'm just going to go with those for now. So we'll try to get rid of anything that was potentially near any of that contamination. Hopefully that's, it looked like it was surface contamination and not an endophyte. Because if it's an endophyte, it's going to be in the vascular tissue of the plant, and so cutting away the endophyte isn't actually going to, or cutting away, the healthy looking tops isn't actually going to cure us of anything. But if it's surface contamination, then we have a much better chance of pulling clean cultures out, or at the very least getting a few healthy and then re-culturing them again. Dead hippie, yes, this is tissue culture. Plant tissue culture. Hemp, YouTube. This is, no, not hemp. I don't even know if I can say that. These are ornamental plants, YouTube. These are little tiny ornamental plants. Yeah, I guess worst case if YouTube ever gets like really hard on it and the algorithm gets crazy, I can just take such small snippets of the plant that the leaf morphology would be like impossible to discern. And then, I don't think an algorithm is going to be able to figure out what like a bunch of little sticks, are. So let's go with that. These are ornamental plants, YouTube. Like, that Drew is sharing. His like YouTube disclaimers always crack me up. Looking lip balm, tomatoes, tomato. Yeah, this is lip balm for my lips, YouTube, and this is my lip balmifier. Fucking the Puffco. All right, what's next? Oh, let's do some Zaclair. Although I'm not sure if I want to root these. I kind of do. Hold on. Might not do Zaclair just now because, like I said, I think I want to root these out. Alright, never mind. We're not going to do Zaclair. We're going to do Skywalker. Skywalker Oge. And that's going to go into type 3 media. Type 3 is purple. Why is it purple? Food coloring. Because then I can just tell what it is from a distance. I have it written on the label as well. But, just in case the label, comes off or something. It's nice to have stuff color coordinated. The only color I wouldn't use is red. So if anyone's making media at home and is dyeing it different colors, again, purple, you kind of have to use a tiny bit of red to get a purple. So a tiny bit of red doesn't seem to be a big deal, but like red dyed media seems, they don't really like that. So Skywalker, not loving the coconut water, but you know, not horrible either. So see if we can get it into type 3 and get it a little bit happier. All right, and we'll just do that whole thing. We'll leave that last one to do whatever it wants. Okay, boom. All right, get over here. But yeah, so you can see how crazy it started, just as this wild, knotty mess, and then a few branches shot out, started to look normal-ish, more normal. Got a couple nodes in here that look pretty half decent. So if you ever enjoyed like dissecting stuff as a kid, you probably would not have a terrible time doing TC. It's not, or like reconstructive surgery would maybe be another good way to describe the process, because like you know what is supposed to be there, and there's just a lot of like weird growth that, you know, sort of needs to be removed. But you know, if you just go in hacking willy-nilly, you'll like chop off the stem or like remove, you know, too much healthy tissue. So as long as you have like a baseline understanding for what is supposed to be there, you know, kind of a cool exercise, is you're like uncovering what you know is actual plant and not all this like weird growth. Because stuff in TC just grows weird sometimes. Like the size, the hormones, the stress, you know, there's just a million reasons why they'll just get like weird on you, which usually no big deal. That's why you also try to do as many cultures as you can, because you anticipate some being contaminated and gross and weird, and you know, you can just get rid of those without much worries. Made this gel a tiny bit harder than I should have, but that's okay. Boom. Skywalker. All right, let's see what other Skywalker stuff we can rescue from all this, like. Okay, so there's like a half decent one. It's like any node is going to be good to go. So if there's meristem cells, you got plant, you know. So don't throw away all your biomass, because you could easily have 15, 20, 30 little explants in here. And like after you've done your surface sterilization and you've initiated them into TC, it's infinitely easier to multiply them in TC than it is to always be pulling healthy plants and sterilizing them and then getting them in culture. So the multiplication step can be really quick and efficient, but oh, there we go. That's a bunch of nodes. And then, yeah, I'm sure you notice I don't use a scalpel, just because you don't have anywhere near as much control as you do with the scissors. These are super razor sharp, and these last me maybe a month or two before I toss them. You can see they get, because they're soaking in bleach, they get rusty and kind of wrecked after not too long. But they're, all things considered, they're very inexpensive. I think they're like $6 a piece or something, $10 a piece, which I don't know, for me is very worth it. So you're just having the control that I don't have with a scalpel, because you can, can't do that with a scalpel. Can't like pick up a section with the scalpel. I guess you could, but you're going to chop it up a bunch, and it's going to be a whole thing. Ready. Well, where'd that piece go? Yeah, the other thing is if, say you're doing this and one of these pieces falls onto the table. Yeah, I'm in the flow hood right now. One of these pieces falls onto the table, just assume it's contaminated and move on. Don't be picking stuff up. Like this table was cleaned and surfaced before I started working in it, but you don't want to contaminate all your work just because you dropped one plantlet and you've got 50 or 100 more like kind of on deck. Yeah, no, Kong has Kong's one of the homies, so no worries there. I keep losing these bits, falling into the plant abyss. No, it's all right. I actually need them. I have plenty over here. But yeah, so we are in the flow hood. Yeah, like surgery. So you can see there's our flow. We've got carbon filter, and then that's the HEPA filter that you can see there. And then this is stainless steel table, which I built this whole flow hood myself. It's not fancy. It's made out of 1.5-inch insulation foam and metal tape and silicone and a bunch of other things. A husky rack is what this all sits on top of, so it doesn't have to be fancy. But you can also get used flow hoods at auction and like supply houses and stuff for relatively cheap. There's always some startup of some lab that had all the money in the world and all dollars and no cents, right? So they bought brand new flagship everything, and then the company goes out of business and they fire sell all their stuff. So if you're diligent online, you can usually find like really high quality lab gear, especially hoods, for 10% of what they paid. Because like a proper flow hood could cost thousands and thousands. Boom. Alright, Skywalker. I'm also going to try Skywalker in another media type, because I haven't tried this one yet. This is coconut water powder instead of liquid coconut water. This coconut water powder, obviously, is shelf stable. Otherwise, if you buy coconut water, you have to use all of the coconut water every time you make media, because that stuff gets super gross within like 24 hours. So it's not like you can get like a liter of coconut water and use it over the course of a week even. So coconut water powder, which I should have assumed existed, and it does, but I've not used it before, so we'll find out. Coconut water has a bunch of cytokinins and hormones in it, specifically the stuff called zeatin, which is really good for TC. And the zeatin, you can buy zeatin from chemical supply stores and stuff, but I was reading some white papers from I think they were from the 80s, and a bunch of scientists were using coconut water in their tissue culture with a lot of success. That's just a really simple, obviously there are hormones in it, but a very simple, like, non-other hormone additive TC media. And like, coconut water's really great for just roots of plants. Like if you feed your plants fertilizer mixed with coconut water, that's like super beneficial. They really like that. I think Build a Soil was like the first guys that I saw promoting that heavy. Actually, no, I think it was Jay Plant Speaker, and then I think he was working with Build a Soil. I don't know. I don't want to say things that I don't know exactly about, but it was Jay Plant Speaker who was the first one that turned me on to using coconut water in cultivation. And then I think I found the coconut water TC thing just randomly. I hadn't even thought about it. So I was just reading the white paper, and then I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let's give that a shot. There's also certain states are really, like Massachusetts, for example, in commercial cultivation, you cannot use plant growth regulators. And, that understandable to some degree, because they're concerned about like synthetic plant growth regulators like paclobutrazol and like some of the other like nasty ones that are carcinogenic. But of course, bureaucrats doing the things that they do, they wrote the law, so they said any plant growth regulator, but that included stuff like seaweed and alfalfa and stuff like that, which I don't know 100% if they had gotten any flack for using coconut water, but I don't think so, just because that's not something that people tend to associate with cultivation. It's not like seaweed extract or whatever. Yeah, no, coconuts are giant seeds. That is correct. You can, if you look up like photos of germinated coconuts, they look pretty cool. They have like this big root that pops out, and like But yeah, coconuts are, I don't know if they're the largest seed of any plant. Jamie, pull that up. Is coconuts the largest seed of any plant? I don't know. Maybe. I know a lot about one type of plant. I don't know. Everyone assumes, like, oh, what about tomatoes or peppers or this or that? Like, I know a decent amount about that, but obviously nowhere near what I know about tomatoes. YouTube. This is all tomatoes. Yeah, dope. So yeah, here's our Skywalker that we turned into 3 cups. So 2, 3, 4 weeks, we'll be ready to root these out or subculture them more. I've had plants. You can leave them in the containers for quite a while. I mean, here's August. They obviously not a huge fan of being in here that long, but this is just on the rack, untouched since August. I think 8 or 9 months is the longest I've had them in containers. All right, here's April of last year. Still going pretty good. Actually, because I am here, let's just do that. Because I can tell that plant is sad. Yeah, so there's 10 months about, right? 9.5 months. Not bad. All right, this will be our last one. Then I got to get back to work. Funny. Seems like I'm doing work right now, which I am. But work never stops on the farm. The light intensity, it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, the annoying thing about TC is the answer to 99% of what you ask is depends. And then it's like, depends on what? And it depends on all the different factors. So in this case, if you want them rapidly growing, 100 ppfd, somewhere in there, 150, nothing crazy. Like standard clone lights is what you want to be at. Then you can do, if you want them to grow really slow, 50, 75 ppfd, and then the big trick for getting them to grow slow is temperature. So have them 68 degrees, 65 to 68 degrees, and they'll grow really quite slow, which if you aren't trying to mess with them for a while, then that's the move. Like these that haven't been opened in months, 9+ months. I don't recommend leaving them in here for 9+ months, but you can do it. They don't like it. But it's funny, you'll find little sections that actually are really, you know, all things considered. Like, look at that bit. Look how healthy that is. Yeah, I don't know why this thing sucks at getting focused. It's really annoying. If anyone has a suggestion for a better like webcam thing, please let me know. This is not filming stuff. Is obviously not my forte. But we're a small family operation here, so I don't have the budget for like a videographer or something. Nor do I have the time to learn how to do all that. I tried to teach myself video editing, and that was really, really hard. Did not expect that to be as difficult as it was. I'm not surprised it was that hard, but man, it'll take a whole lifetime to get good at. But maybe eventually we'll be half decent at doing live streams. I ain't gonna edit it, you know. It's fucking live. We'll do it live. What's that guy's name? I can't remember. Bill something. My grandma was a big fan of it. Rest in peace, Grandma. Even though, you know, he was a big Fox News fan. But hey, Fox News is a entertainment channel. Yeah, do it live, Hagen. Fucking fuck it. Do it live. Oh wait, can I say that on YouTube? I don't know how YouTube works. I don't know how. I was raised by a pack of wild salesmen. You know, I have a fucking awful mouth. Just sailor status. I make my mom sad with my choices every day. Just kidding. My mom's great. Yes, indeed. Happy Friday. When are you going to set up your TC lab? You probably got the space to do it, right? I mean, you really just need like a table, you know? Get that temporary set up like other people get. The little mini flow hood. The Athena one's good. There's also Plant Cell Tech makes like a little tiny flow hood that obviously would work just as well. Yeah. All right. All things considered, pretty happy. Started with that. Ugh. April. All right. So if that was April of last year, then I don't have to touch this until October of this year. So cool. Threesome will sit on the rack until October, and then we'll do a live, and we'll pull this off, and we'll see what it looks like. Also, when these started, these were nowhere near this big, so I'm not gonna make it till October, but you never know. We'll see. So we'll do some movie magic. Yeah, I gotta check in with Dakota and see how his TC work is coming along. Doing TC down in Colombia, it's savage, but he's got a dope spot. And he's got a lot of Umami stuff going, so he needs to be able to save those. Ooh, gelonade. All right, I think I'm out of TC media, so I'm out of type 2. Oh, wait, no, I have one more type 2. Okay, that is actually quite convenient. Book recommendations for TC media. Let's see. I mean, books, no. Like, if you're in college or you have a friend or like a sibling in college, see if you can get their JSTOR login or any like academic. I'm trying to remember what those are. Like what those are called. Those like academic archives. But those will have like an infinite amount of white papers written by scientists, like published papers from all over the place, and you can just search tissue culture media, hemp tissue culture, and find 50 plus recipes. Different cultivars respond differently, so there is no one single recipe that I've found. I mean, I've found stuff that works pretty good for most things, but then like optimizing the media for specific cultivars is kind of where you want to go. Like for me right now, we have anywhere from like 200 to 300 different varieties, like different moms at any given time, just between pheno hunting and stuff. So they, those numbers fluctuate. And then I have 10 to 12 different media recipes that we use. And then out of those 10 to 12, there's usually like 2 or 3 variations on each one of those media recipes. So, that's why anyone who does TC like at scale is really protective of their recipe, just because it takes a long time and like hundreds and hundreds of vessels to identify the proper media blend for whichever variety. So, for example, gelonade, this one gel, right? Like the gel is sugar and water and carbs and a bunch of other things. So they eat the gel, and eventually they'll just consume all of the gel. But yeah, 4 to 6 months, it's kind of like the max you want to do them in. 3 or 4 months is usually at least for me, that's kind of the sweet spot, where I'm able to get good, like really healthy stock coming out. But I mean, you can see this gelonade has got some, this could be a pH issue, or it's just a phosphorus, not enough phosphorus in the media, or it consumed a large amount of the phosphorus in the media, because this is probably the second or third time I've cut from this container, because I basically treat these like moms, and I'll take 3 or 4 rounds of cuttings from each of these cups. So they breathe through this little filter right here. So I have racks that are behind me with fans, and those fans pass air over the containers, and that creates gas exchange inside the vessels. Too much gas exchange is bad. They'll dry out quickly and get weird. Too little gas exchange is bad. Too high a moisture is bad. There's most things are bad, like with this. So you really gotta most things are bad, like with this. So you really gotta